You are listening to PastThink.com audiobook. Please like and subscribe, thank you. Chapter 79. Qiao Pai, to trick his brother, commands him to create poems. Lu Feng is executed for failing to rescue Guan Yu. The volunteer who is prepared to face down Guanzhong is Jia Kui, and the offer is gladly received. When Guanzhong and Jia Kui meet, Guanzhong immediately asks, "Where is the late king's seal?" To this, with stiff politeness, Jia Kui replies, "Every house has an elder son, every country an heir apparent. Therefore such a question from your lordship is inappropriate." That silences Guanzhong, and they ride on and into the city. Upon arriving at the palace, Jia Kui asks politely, "My lord, have you come to mourn your father at the funeral, or to challenge your brother for the throne?" "To attend the funeral, as I have no hostile plans." "So why in that case," asks Jia Kui, "have you come with an army?" In response to this polite, but firm query, Guanzhong has no option but to dismiss his men and go into the palace by himself. There he embraces his brother, weeping, and hands over to him his armed forces. Then, following the orders of Qiao Pai, he returns to Yanling to be commander there. Qiao Pai now starts to rule with full confidence. He makes Jia Kui his chief commander and Hua Xian his prime minister, and many others are given rewards. Cao Cao is named posthumously as King Wu. 22 He is buried at Jialing in Yi. Eugene is given responsibility for the tomb. However, when he reaches the site, he sees painted on the wall of the tomb a picture of the battle between Guan Yu and himself, complete with all the disasters that have befallen him, the loss of 7 armies and his own capture. It even shows Pang De gloating, and himself prone on the ground. The fact is that Qiao Pai despises him, and no longer has any confidence in him. So shocked is Eugene by this deliberate and cruel insult that he falls ill, and not long after he dies. A poet has said, 30 years of fidelity. Trashed when a man turns traitor out of fear. Can you ever know who anyone truly is? If you want to paint a tiger, start with the skeleton. While Guanzhong has been tamed, 2 other brothers still live. One is Cao Xiong, but he commits suicide, having failed to attend the funeral. He is buried with due honor. The other is Cao Ji, Lord of Linzi, who with 2 well-known writers and drinkers, brothers by the name of Ding, is often drunk, even early in the morning. But Cao Ji is also famous as a poet and initially refuses to respond to his brother the king's requests to come and pay homage. An army of 3,000 men attack and seize Cao Ji and the Ding brothers. The brothers are immediately executed on Qiao Pai's orders, a fact that brings sadness to many of the writers and thinkers at that time, while Cao Ji is brought before his brother. Now Qiao Pai wants to kill his brother, but his mother pleads with him to be compassionate. So instead, Qiao Pai sets his brother a task. "You are renowned as a poet, so here is the task," he says. "Walk 7 paces and by the end of that compose a poem based on this drawing of 2 bulls here on the wall. Do you see? One of them has died as a result of a fight and has fallen in a well. But you cannot say, 2 bulls fought beside a wall and one died in a well." Cao Ji takes the 7 steps and then recites the following brand new poem. 2 beefsteaks are trundling along a lane. A headdress of curving bone on each crown. They meet each other at a mountain's base. And immediately clash, raging. Both weighty enemies, but unequal. One lies bleeding on the ground. Not because he had less strength, but because his qi had all but drained away. Everyone is astonished at this. Qiao Pai sets him a similar task, only this time he has to capture the relationship between them, but without using the word brother. And again he triumphs. Happily boiling beans on a beanstalk fire. A voice is heard from the pot. "Why, when we come from the same root? Are you the one who now cooks me?" So moved is Qiao Pai by this, he bursts into tears. His mother pleads again to spare Cao Ji. In order to show his concern for his brother and for his wastrel lifestyle, Qiao Pai agrees, but demotes him. Qiao Ji gratefully accepts a lower rank and leaves to take responsibility for governing Anxiong. With no further sibling rivalry, Qiao Pai is now in charge, and as a result he starts to reshape the laws according to his own will. He also brings even more pressure upon the Han Emperor than his father ever did, and word of this soon reaches Xuanda. Deeply alarmed by this turn of affairs, Xuanda asks for advice from his officers, not least in the light of Sun Quan having acquiesced to the power and authority of the new king of Wei. Alongside these concerns, Xuanda also wants to avenge Guan Yu and his son, and to do this it is suggested that Lu Feng and Meng Da should be punished for having failed to come to their rescue. It is decided to split them up and send Lu Feng to govern Mianzhu so they can't confer, and then they can be picked off one by one. This news alerts Meng Da to the fact that plots are afoot. When he receives official notice that Lu Feng is being dispatched to Mianzhu on Kong Ming's orders, he decides to rebel. That very night he leaves with 50 riders and deserts to join the king of Wei. When the messenger who took the notice to Meng Da returns with the news, and a carefully worded letter from Meng Da to Xuanda arguing that out of loyalty he is deserting, Xuanda is furious. It is Kong Ming who comes up with a plan to kill both Meng Da and Lu Feng, send Lu Feng to fight Meng Da, given he is now a rebel. If he wins or loses we'll have resolved this problem. When Meng Da arrives at Qiao Pai's capital, Qiao Pai is convinced this is a plot. Hearing that Lu Feng, with an army of some 50,000 men, is coming to seize Meng Da, Qiao Pai tells him to go and do battle, and if he brings back the head of Lu Feng, then he will be believed. Now the kingdom of Wei has already seized Xiangyang, and is preparing to take Xiangyang, and it is at Xiangyang that Meng Da confronts Lu Feng. But first he writes to Lu Feng, trying to lure him into deserting and joining him in serving Qiao Pai. To this Lu Feng retorts, "How dare you try to subvert the filial bond between uncle and nephew, and between father and son?" And he rips the letter to shreds. The next day they meet in single combat, and after a few bouts Meng Da turns and flees, closely followed by the furious Lu Feng. But this is a trap, and soon Lu Feng is attacked from left and right in an ambush. He just manages to escape and flees to Xiangyang, only to find that the city has fallen to the Wei troops as the governor has surrendered. With the enemy closing in behind him, Lu Feng flees next to Fangling, only to see the flags of Wei fluttering on the battlements, for this city too has fallen. With barely 100 men, Lu Feng flees until eventually he staggers back into Chengdu, where he falls on the ground before Xuanda, king of Hanzhong as he now is, and begs forgiveness. Xuanda is so angry at this that, despite Lu Feng's attempts to explain why he failed to come to the defense of Guan Yu, he orders his adopted son executed. Only later does he hear that Lu Feng refused to betray his father by deserting to Wei. This news, combined with his profound mourning for Guan Yu, brings him low with sickness and depression, and in response he retreats into himself. Later in that fateful year of AD 220 many different auspicious signs appear: a phoenix, a unicorn, a yellow dragon. These are interpreted by the court astrologers and other high officials as signs that the authority of the Han dynasty is over, the mandate of heaven has been removed and the Han are about to be replaced by Wei. They request that a ceremonial event take place at which the Han emperor will resign, and the new dynasty will take up the mandate of heaven. As a direct result, a delegation led by Hua Xian goes to see Emperor Xian to officially ask him to resign, and to hand over to Qiao Pai. And what is the emperor's response? Let's find out.